This project is inspired by the colors of fall. I'm going to show you a floating gemstone necklace. Hi, I'm Katie, and I want to take a minute to thank you for being a subscriber to Jewel School. If you don't know anything about JTV, we are celebrating 30 years this year, and all of us on Jewel School hope to be able to bring you more great jewelry making content for many years to come. To learn more about JTV and how we're celebrating, visit jtv.com. This is going to be a really fun episode inspired by the colors of fall, and we're going to be making a floating gemstone necklace. The inspiration for this necklace really came from the materials. We have really pretty beading wire called soft flex that comes in a variety of colors, but this one has the fall tones, like the reds and the browns and the golds, and it's really fun to leave it exposed in your design to create a floating look. So when you pair it with gemstones, it's just a beautiful look for fall, and really you can take it into any season by just changing the color of your stringy wire. You're going to need some gemstone beads. You're going to need some soft flex. These are a couple of the colors that I'm going to be using today in the copper and the antique brass. You'll need to have some bead stoppers, some crimp tubes. I use these to connect the clasp at the end, but for the actual design, I'll be using crimp beads. And they're similar, they're just a little bit more rounded, and I feel like they flatten out better than the tubes, but you can use these interchangeably. An Amtara crimper, a flesh cutter, and I may not need this, but I always like to have a plier, like a flat nose plier around just in case. Okay, so I have switched to my beading mat and bead board because it has this mat in there that's going to be easier for me to string and control all my beads. So the first step is you're going to cut your beads apart and organize them in whatever color and size pattern you want. I did, since this is 3 sizes here, I cut my set apart and I organized them into 4 rows because I'm using a 4-strand clasp. And my pattern is 3 big ones in the middle, then 2 medium ones on either side and a little one on the end. Okay, so go ahead and do that. And then I also kind of separated them by colors. So this is the teal, this is the olive, this is the orange, and this is the red. You can do this however you want, but that's just what I did. So I'm gonna put these to the side, and I have already strung these 3 strands. All I did was cut about 3 feet of soft flex in those fall tones, and then I strung them with the crimp beads in between. And I'll show you how to string one of them here. So get your bead stopper and your soft flex and put it on one end. And you're just gonna string 1 crimp bead and then a little one, and then 2 crimp beads, and a medium, and then 2 crimp beads and another medium, and so on. You put 2 in between every single bead, and then you'll just do 1 at the other ends. Okay, so I've strung this segment and I have these other 3 that are matching. And I've already decided this red one is going to be the top layer and so on. So this will be my bottom layer. I'm going to go ahead and just start with the top layer because that's where I feel like starting. And you can really get mathematical about your spacing here if you want, but I'm just going to find the middle of my cord like that, and I'll start there. So I'm just going to spread out that one segment, grab my plier. You can use the end of your Amtara crimper or a flat nose and you're just gonna flatten that crimp out. So now you have your middle done, and you're just gonna work your way up the sides, flattening those crimps. And you want your spacing to be consistent. So if it helps, you can use the jaw of your tool to measure out about 1 inch, or you can use a ruler. And just keep going. And something that I'll usually do is once I do one side, I'll kind of hold it beside the other side and then just mirror it. It doesn't have to be perfect spacing, but as long as both sides are kind of similar, nobody will be able to tell. All right, so I'm done with the shortest strand, and this, if you're making this for yourself, you can just kind of hold it up and see how long you want it to be. So I'm gonna make the shortest strand 16 inches. So that just kind of tells you a rough estimation on my shortest, and then I'll probably do 18 and 20 and 22. It's gonna be kind of a shorter fall piece. But really you can do this pattern the same on all of them. And then at the end, when we connect the clasp, is when we'll cut them to different lengths. So we're just gonna keep on flattening. I'm gonna do the second strand. I'm gonna set my red one to the side. And once again, I'll just start in the middle. And start squeezing. And a lot of times, sometimes I'll stagger the beads so that they each row is kind of staggered basically. But for this design, I'm just gonna do them all the same. And mirror that again. Hold this over. Oops. All right, let's go on to the next strand. Find the middle. And we're going to do the same thing here that we've done on the other two strands. Okay, and let's move on to the last one. Okay, so we're done with that part, and we have all 4 strands started. All we have to do now is crimp them to our clasp. And this is the part that I like to use these crimp tubes for because I just enjoy the way that they crimp better for attaching a clasp. So you'll need 8 of these, and you'll need a crimping plier, and you might need a ruler, and you'll need a flush cutter. So I want my first one, my shortest one, to be 16 inches, right? So find the middle, and I'm just gonna measure 8 inches away. Slide, and this is just basic crimping right here. Slide your crimp tube on, slide on your clasp, and then slide it back through the crimp tube and pull it tight. And you don't have to pull it too tight or anything. You want it to still be flexible, and you might want to check that measurement one more time just to make sure it's going to be 8 inches since I want it to be 16. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my crimping plier here, and the Amtara crimper, you can just do one squeeze. You want to set it into that groove and squeeze. And that's all you have to do with this tool, but if you want, you can turn it upside down and fold it over itself, but I don't mind it just like that. So then I'm going to trim off that extra and do the same thing on the other side, but I'll do it on this side of the clasp. And if you want, you can take your clasp apart to do this if that's easier for you. So just slide that on. I like to keep my clasp together because it reminds me where I am. You don't want to do it backwards. Slide it through your clasp. Slide it back through the crimp tube, and then check your measurement. You can just measure it on against itself really now. So you've got the first one done. Okay, and then you'll just crimp that. Put it in the groove and squeeze. So now it's not going anywhere. Okay, so we have one row done. Now we'll move to the orange. Slide on your crimp tube. Slide it in the next segment of your clasp. Slide it back through. Oops. And if you want it to be 18 inches, just go up to the 9. Pull it tight. And squeeze. Trim that off. Trim off the tail. And repeat on the other side. Okay, and squeeze. And trim off that little tail. And I'll show you where we are so far. Two done. Let's move on to the olive now. So we've done a 16 and an 18. Let's do a 20. inch. Slide on your crimp tube. Go through the third compartment here. Slide it back through your crimp tube. And we want to go to the 10-inch mark. So just hold it there, slide up your tube, and squeeze. And then trim off that tail. I'm going to put my clasps back together. All right, so now we can do the other side. Okay, and then trim that tail off. And let's move on to the last strand. That's kind of what we've got so far. Super cute. Okay, so let's do a 22-inch here. Slide on your crimp tube. Just gonna come from this angle here. Whoops. Okay, so that means I'll need 11 on each side. And this is the last one we have to do. And normally I would fold these over themselves, but really you don't have to. This crimping plier is amazing. It's very strong. Alrighty, so now I'm ready to crimp that. And trim off that tail. And all right, and that's it, we're finished. So now you have a really cute layering piece ready for fall. All right, let's get back over the tools and supplies we used. We had our beads, and these are graduated from 8, 6, and 4 millimeters. We had our soft flex in the fall colors. We've got crimp beads that we used as in the middle of the necklace, and then we had our crimp tubes. These are 2 millimeter crimp tubes for attaching our clasp. We had our 4-strand clasp connector, bead stopper, flat nose plier, flush cutter, and our Omtar crimping plier. If you need to pick up any of the supplies or tools we used today, check out the links in the description below. And while you're there, check out our fall playlist of our other fall-inspired designs. Find that on our YouTube page. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And now that you know how to make a floating gemstone necklace inspired by fall colors, you can say, I made this.